All right, so you have no idea, but this is the second take for this video. I like things to be as close to perfect as possible. You know, obviously we can't be perfect, but so before we get into these questions and answers, I want to remind you, answers need to be in complete sentences and always, whenever possible, restating the question. The idea is that when you go to reread and study these answers, you will know what the question was in your answer. And I'll give you an example when we get to the first one. Let's take a quick look at homework number 2. So you should have your homework number 2 out, which was the questions on the video that I had embedded into the assignment, and some reading from page 188. The first question was from the video, and I even put that in parentheses so you kind of knew where you should be going. What years were the colonies in Jamestown, Plymouth, and Massachusetts Bay founded? And so your answer should have been something along the lines of: the colony of Jamestown was founded in 1607, Plymouth was founded in 1620, and Massachusetts Bay was founded in 1630. The second question, also video: what was the difference between the leaderships of the Church of England and the Catholic Church? Y'all should probably have had a pretty good idea about the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, as we know, is led by the Pope. He is the leader of the church. The Church of England, however, was led by their king, not the Pope. And so that was the correct answer. So number 3 was from the video: how did the Puritans want to purify the Church of England? And actually, a couple of people had it almost dead on. There were too many rituals and not enough focus on the Bible itself. They wanted to, and this is the Puritans, wanted to strip away the fanciness of the Church of England. Number 4, from the video. It also was touched on in the book on page 189. What was the Great Migration and when did it occur? So the Great Migration was, I guess a short version would be when about 14,000, the video said 20, actually the book says 20,000 Puritans came from England to New England. Puritans began to emigrate to the New World in a large group, and they thought if they went to Virginia, they could set an example of what a righteous church would look like, because they believed the community was coming apart from the original meaning of the Bible. This is the Great Migration. The Great Migration was when they emigrated from New England to Massachusetts Bay. The 5th question was, and in the parentheses, I even put from the text on page 188. Boom, there it was. Who led the first group of Puritans to New England in 1628, and what does the name Massachusetts mean? Surprisingly, a large number of people didn't give the correct answer. Who led the first group of Puritans to New England in 1628? Allow me to just read directly from the textbook. In 1628, John Endicott led the first group of Puritans to sail to New England, and yet some put John Winthrop, who was on the next page, 189. In the question, I asked you to look on page 188. The answer was John Endicott. John Endicott led the first group of Puritans to New England in 1628. And then the name Massachusetts came from an Indian language, the Algonquin tribe. Massachusetts meant at the big hill. And so those were the answers to numbers 1 through 5 on question number 2. So let's flip over, and I'm on Canvas waiting for it to load up here. Flip over to homework 3. Now, if you're in your document, you're just scrolling down, and you should have it right below homework 2, so that the first 5 answers and the second 5 answers are right next to each other. Homework 3 were questions on a different video. Actually, the second part of the video, because that was about a 10-minute video. I only needed you to watch the first 5 minutes or so for the first set of answers, and I told you that in the instructions. But the questions on the video and pages 189 to 193. And so the first question was, and it told you again, video/textbook, so you could get the answer from either or both. Who was the first governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony, and how long did he serve? The correct answer was John Winthrop served as governor as Massachusetts Bay Colony. He wasn't the answer to who led the first group to New England. John Winthrop was the first governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony, and he served about 20 years, really, for the rest of his life. And so, number two came from the textbook. I gave you the hint. Describe a typical Puritan village and name at least 5 features. I sent a bunch of you back to the book to get the correct answer because you didn't give me the correct answer. Right in the book, they actually had a nice description of the section was on a Puritan village. And so the answer I was looking for was something along the lines of, let me find the better answer. So each Puritan village had a commons area, a village green that was shared by everyone. There was a big meeting house. We'll get to what the meeting house was for in one of the next questions. There were houses on both sides of the common. There were stores. There was a blacksmith shop in every Puritan village. And let's see if I'm missing any here. A mill. Some people put crop fields and a well for water. Yeah, but I wanted to make sure you had at least 5 features. I just wanted you to understand they had a full community. They had everything covered in these Puritan villages. So question number 3. From the video around the 8-minute mark, I specifically told you to go there. However, I may not have been clear enough in my instructions, although some people got the correct answer without me having to give you some feedback, to give you some redirection. The question is, what was the big difference in the types of pilgrims who traveled to Plymouth and the Puritans who inhabited the Massachusetts Bay Colony? So I'm telling you that they're pilgrims and Puritans, and so I'm not looking for you to tell me that one of them is a Puritan and one of them is a Puritan, because that's in the question. The answer that I was looking for had everything to do with the ratio of men to women, because the pilgrims who traveled to Plymouth were mostly men. The Puritans came in family units. And if you remember, there were some times that we talked in the last section way back that when the men were there by themselves, sometimes they got a little antsy and wanted to go back home. They missed their families. I understand that. So the Pilgrims came as mostly men. The Puritans came as family units. And that was the major point that I wanted to get across there. I just wanted to make sure everybody got that. All right, number 4. Explain at least 3 different uses for the Puritan meeting houses. All right, I had to redirect people sometimes twice to get a good answer for this. So, the meeting house, it's a meeting house. And so the village meetings were there. That was one meaning. That was one use. The church services were also there. And so that includes the minister's sermons and the Bible studies and all of that. So that's a second use. First was the meeting house as a meeting place. The second was for church services and for Bible studies. And third, that's where they had their elections. And it's important that we keep in mind that they're electing their leaders. It's not just the richest man or anything along those lines. They voted who they wanted as their leaders. And so they also voted on the laws that affected the whole community. So finally, the last question, and we're almost at 10 minutes, and so the vocabularies, I'm going to cut that assignment short. Number 5, the video from the video, what were Roger Williams and Anne Hutchinson expelled from the colony for doing? Two separate reasons, and I even gave that in the question. Two separate reasons. And so Roger Williams was expelled because he questioned the Puritans' actions toward the Native Americans. If you remember way back, with the way Native Americans were being treated, some did not care, some did. Roger Williams cared and was expelled for that. Anne Hutchinson, on the other hand, was expelled because she dared to be a woman who preached the Bible. God forbid. So she was an empowered woman, I guess you could say. That is going to be it for the correct answers. We're going to talk about the quiz before you take the quiz on Tuesday. But if you would, make sure you have all those correct answers. Run back the video if you need to. See ya.